Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Founder Stories Business Class. And in today's episode, we are going to be talking about AI, artificial intelligence, and can it help us with tax planning? Do we need accountants and tax advisors anymore? So did you know that AI can help guarantee you're paying the minimum tax legally possible? I bet most of you didn't even know that AI links to tax. Most people are leaving their tax planning, especially in small business world, to an unqualified accountant. That being said, they're an accountant like me. They're a chartered accountant or a certified chartered accountant, or hopefully they're a qualified accountant, but they are not qualified to do proper tax planning because they're not a chartered tax advisor. There is a better way though. I won't answer the question for you yet, but could we use AI for tax planning? And do we still need a person? So you can use AI, and what AI will do is it will produce a report based on your circumstances, which is checked over ideally and then presented by a chartered tax advisor to you. So if you think about the scenario where AI asks you 150 questions potentially to map out, what businesses do you have? Do you have kids? What cars do you drive? Where do you live? How much cash do you have? What investment structures do you have? What's your risk profile? And so on and so on and so forth, and uses your answers to map out a tax plan. And a tax plan is simply a report which aims to identify all the areas where you are overpaying tax. So you could input, for example, into this AI system last year's accounts, last year's tax return, your personal tax return. It will scan all those over and do its AI thing, which I don't really understand. Produce a report and say, here's all the ways that you're overpaying tax, here's all the things that you're not even doing where you could save tax, and here's the priority order. Now, for you to interpret that report, we really need a human being, because human-to-human contact is still valuable, and we need someone who's qualified to interpret the report. So we need a chartered tax advisor. So a quick interruption to our broadcast by our sponsor, Growth Factor, who are a chartered accountancy firm I'm the CEO of. We have a limited number of spots to access a free diagnostic tax review where we will use our proprietary AI tool to produce a report for you, and then we will go through that with you and present the results. There's no commitment to make those tax planning adjustments with us. You can go back to your existing accountant and do that. It's highly valuable. There's only a limited number of spots. We're offering this now because we know it's coming up to Christmas. We know that it will help you guys, and the self-assessment deadline is impending end of January. So let's get back to the content. What are my recommended tools to use for artificial intelligence in terms of tax planning? So there are lots of tools. Where I am using AI, I'm pretty much using ChatGPT. So one of your options could be to go and ask questions to ChatGPT if you're not supported by a good accountant that gives you unlimited support without charging you like Growth Factor. You can go and ask it, what are the tax rules around cars this year? What's the benefit in kind tax for electric cars? Should I buy an electric car? How do I pay myself dividends this year? What's a better way to get more money out of my company without paying tax? These kind of things. It should give you some intelligent answers. There's another tool called Google Bard, which is, again, Google's AI tool where you can go and ask questions. But as I was writing the notes for this video, I kind of thought to myself, this is very, very inefficient, because there could be thousands of questions that you could ask. How do you know that you're asking the right questions? So if you've got something specific, great. But what that's not going to do is ensure that you are paying the minimum tax legally possible, and also you are meeting all of your tax obligations. So you're not doing anything that will get you in trouble with HMRC. Everything that you're doing is just a case of utilizing the tax allowances and the tax structures and tax planning opportunities that HMRC have written into their own legislation. How do you do that? Well, my recommendation would be to use something like Growth Factor's tool. We call it a diagnostic tax plan. the way that we make sure, and everything is not 100%, let's say this is 99.8%, is the system asks the questions, okay? Not you asking the questions. It asks you questions. It has a list of 50 to 100 questions. Those are the same for every person, but if you answer one question and say, I don't have kids, for example, this will cancel off the follow-up questions. If you say yes, it's then going to say, how old are they? Are you sending them to university? Are you sending them to private school? Do you pay school fees? Do you want to save for their future? Have you got a house that you'd like to pass down to them? These kind of things. And so it's using machine learning and logic plus AI to deliver questions that are right for you based on the answers to your standard questions. So I think we can see from common sense that it's more logical for it to ask you questions than you to ask it. So my recommendation would be to use something like the Grow Factor Diagnostic Tax Plan tool. And being that it's December, I don't know when you will get round to watching this video, but it applies all year round if you want to minimize your personal tax liability, primarily for people in the UK. How do you reduce the amount of personal tax that you pay this year? Well, again, most people just accept what they have to pay. They don't do any active tax planning. The most they will do is go back to their accountant and say, have you done everything possible to reduce my tax liability? To which your accountant is going to say, yes, I have. 96% of the reviews we've done and that is an actual statistic. I mean, it kind of hovers between 90 and 100% depending year on year. We do tax reviews for people who are not our clients. We offer a limited number each month. It takes about 15 to 30 minutes. We jump on Zoom. We before that Zoom call, we ask to review the corporate tax returns, the personal tax returns, and the accounts for the prior year. Once we've done that, we come to that meeting with notes, and then we ask certain questions, which are the headline questions that the AI tool will normally ask as well. And then we issue an initial tax planning report to identify all the areas where you might be overpaying tax, or you could save on tax. So in 96% of these reviews we found this year overpaid taxes. Why is that? It's because people who are not chartered tax advisors are producing your tax returns. They are not using AI or software to reduce the tax liability. So my tip number one to reduce your tax liability is actually have a sit-down meeting, can be on Zoom, with a chartered tax advisor and run through an AI-driven tax planning meeting. Number two, review the report together and actually implement the recommendations in a priority order. You're not going to be able to do everything the first time within the first filing deadline. Potentially you'll be able to go back and refile tax returns from prior years and get a tax refund, and then repeat. Tip number three is repeat this process at least annually. Okay, so hopefully today's video was useful. You're starting to think about, could I use AI in my business for tax planning? And lastly, is your accountant supporting you in the right way? Ask the question, what's your process for producing my tax return? Is it going through 1-stage review, 2-stage review? Is a chartered tax advisor looking at it? Have you run my accounts through an AI tool? Based on those answers, you make your own decision as to what the likelihood is of you overpaying or underpaying or paying the right amount of tax. Again, if you need help with this, drop me a message or pop a comment, and I will send you the details of how, if we've got availability, how you can take one of the limited number of spots for a diagnostic tax review. So that is it for this week's episode of Business Class, and I will see you in the next one.